This is Stacy Goldring, and I'm here to talk with you about something that basically resembles a bleeding hemorrhoid, and that would be writer's block. All right, let me explain. It's horrible, it's awful, and frankly, it's an excuse. And I'm going to tell you why. So when you're done with this little video thing, you can stop procrastinating and start writing. I was fortunate, I don't know, maybe I can't do math, but let's say 10, 15 years ago, I had the opportunity to write a memoir about a Holocaust survivor. This was a huge responsibility and a huge task, and it wasn't easy. However, this is where the trajectory of my writing life led, so I followed it. All right, so here I am, and I have copious hours of notes that I have taken regarding this woman's incredible survivorship story. And I can't write. I cannot write nothing. Hear that? Nothing. And it was depressing, and it was frustrating, and it was embarrassing, and I wasn't returning her phone calls, and I just wanted life to basically just go away. When I was about in 6th or 7th grade, I read a book called From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Konigsberg. This book changed my life. I call these types of book life books. This was a life book. For some reason, when I read this book, the world became nothing but opportunity for me. I could do anything. If these two kids could manage to spend the night at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, I can do anything. I love this writer, and I read everything that E.L. Konigsberg wrote. I read all of it that I could get my hands on. Well, it so happens I grow up and I get old, and I move to Jacksonville, Florida. And wouldn't you know it, she lives in Jacksonville. She lived in Jacksonville. And a very dear friend of mine was able to connect me with Elaine Konigsberg. She knew I was suffering from writer's block. She told me to give her a call. It was the worst phone call I ever made in my life. My hands were sweating, and it's still when you made phone calls and you couldn't text first, or there was no preface, there was no 10 steps texting. You just had to call. So I called Elaine, and I heard her voice, and I was able to go ahead and secure an appointment with her. So I go out to Ponte Vedra Beach. It's windy, it's cold, it's ominous Virginia Woolf kind of weather. And I walk up the steps to the condo. She greets me, just like Elaine and everything in her books. It's a beautiful surrounding. We sit down to a cup of tea, and I tell her my story. I can't write, it's driving me crazy, I'm depressed, blah, blah, blah. It was all true. And when you're in it, it's awful. It's truly like everything is black and white, there's no color. It's horrible. And Elaine looked at me, and she said, just write. Now I gotta tell you, it was 2 words, and it changed everything. Because when she said just write, she was saying a bazillion things. She was saying, don't be lazy, quit making excuses, get off your rear end, throw it and see what sticks. You're never going to know until you try. Take a risk. What are you waiting for? No one's going to do it but you, sister. All of a sudden, every excuse that I had melted away. I felt empowered. I felt like I could stand stronger. It was 2 words. 2 words from an amazing woman who did just do it. She sat down and she wrote. So I left her place and I drove back home and I wrote the book. It wasn't perfect. It's still not perfect. It wasn't easy. But those 2 words allowed me, it gave me permission to mess up. It continues to give me permission to make mistakes, but it gives you that permission to create, because the more you throw at the wall, eventually whatever doesn't drip and whatever remains, that's your work. So I encourage you to do something that is gargantuan. And that's when you're finished with this little video. You don't get up, you don't get a drink of water, you don't go to the bathroom, you don't check your Facebook, blah, blah, you don't go to Etsy, forget eBay. You go to Word and you open a new document and you just write. So that's all I have for you. Good luck. This is Stacy Goldring, and I hope you found some type of inspiration from what I've shared with you. Thanks.